Podcasts are hot right now. How do I know? Well, you're listening to one right now, aren't you? But you might be wondering, how on earth do I get my voice out there and start my own podcast? It all seems so intimidating. Between hosting and platforms and monetization, it can get real complicated real quick. Well, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. We started this podcast over 2 years ago, not knowing clue one on how to do it. So how do we do it? We did it with Anchor. Anchor is the free podcast app with creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on all the platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. And everybody likes money, right? Well, you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So go right now, download the free Anchor app, or go to Anchor FM to get started. It's the E-Commerce Minute, your daily dose of e-commerce, tech, and retail news with your hosts, Bart Mroz and John Suter. The E-Commerce Minute is a production of Sumo Heavy, a digital commerce consulting firm in Brooklyn, New York, and Philadelphia. Find us on the web at sumoheavy.com. It's E-Commerce Minute, episode 645.
In today's episode, Staples' new store concept includes event space and podcast studios.
One of the most effective ways to make sure that your physical stores survive the rapidly changing commerce landscape is to innovate. Older chains are starting to rethink their entire framework to align their brand with the 2020 consumer habits. A prime example is Toys R Us and their new interactive and immersive concept stores. Next in line to revive the brand is Staples. Staples US Retail recently unveiled Staples Connect, a reinvented store with co-working, podcasting, and community event spaces where professionals, teachers, and students alike can connect and grow together. The new store concept is built around the ever-evolving needs of the retail customer with a focus on community, hands-on learning, and solutions. Staples Connect has already come to life in 6 Massachusetts stores, including Cambridge, Somerville, Needham, Boston, Brighton, and Danvers. Some elements of Staples Connect can be found in other stores throughout Massachusetts. The offerings include a 500 square foot community space where shoppers can join or host events like workshops, speaker sessions, and meetings. The store also offers a podcast studio where podcasters can make an appointment for a recording time. The stores also house the Staples Studio co-working concept that the retailer has been launching in some Massachusetts locations, as well as 3 Canadian locations. The layout of products is centered on small business, home office, and classroom solutions. Each Staples Connect store also has printing and marketing services, TSA pre-check enrollment, technology services, and professional services, including tax, marketing, finance, and legal. To support future leaders within the community of the stores, Staples Connect has also made donations to local educators, including Boston Public Schools through a partnership with DonorsChoose.org, City Sprouts in Cambridge, the Needham Education Foundation, and the Somerville Education Foundation as well. I kind of dig this. I hope they roll this out nationwide.
Yeah, it's a lot, but it's cool. It's crazy to imagine all this stuff being associated with Staples, you know?
Well, one of the things to think about is the size of a general Staples store. And I know the one by me, you've got the whole back of the store is paper and chairs.
Right.
If you think of dollar per square foot, that seems to be a kind of a waste of money. And I think some smarty pants with a calculator walked in and said, what if we repurpose some of this space like all the other retailers are doing?
Well, yeah. I mean, how many people do you see at Staples at one time? 5?
Correct. That's the other thing. Right.
5? That's just the thing. Why have that much space? I mean,
right. So you make it more of a community space, a la what Apple has done. Bring in more foot traffic, have just people hanging out, doing things there. And what they're doing is they're also offering ancillary services, not just here's what kind of ink you need for your printer, but also here's some tax advice. Here's a person who might be able to help you with certain business situations. And also like I said, the community part of it, that creates a lot of foot traffic and makes it more of a gathering space as opposed to that big empty store that you walk in to get a pen, 6 months out of the year.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I love working out at Staples, but you know, how much paper are you going to buy? If you work in an office, they deliver. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and these office supply stores generally don't compete on price unless it's around school time, and then they're selling the notebooks for 2 cents or whatever it is.
Yeah, but that's a seasonal thing, right? They can do the front of the store and just be, here's a pickup, here's the package.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They have those big bins full of all the school supplies that the kids want for their loss leaders. Hopefully that the parent will wander in and buy more stuff like folders and stuff like that. It's a little bit more.
Right. I mean, if they take out half if they took out half the store, right, and change it to this style thing and then just rearrange to have the other stuff, they would still have so much room.
Yeah, they still have a lot of room. So let's talk about the podcasting, which I think is super interesting and is kind of tacking on to the trend of podcasting. Everybody's now got a podcast. Even we have a podcast.
We have a podcast, apparently, and we're on it right now.
We have 2 podcasts, according to me. But yeah, according to the New York Times, and this is an article from last year, more than half the people in the U.S. have listened to one, and nearly 1 out of 3 people listen to one podcast every month. I am sure that number has gone way up. It's a bigger trend. Younger people are listening to podcasts. Older people over 55 were slower to adopt podcasts. And I'm going to tell you why, because I don't think people knew how to get them. It was like the secret voodoo thing. Because I would talk to people my age and a little older, and they'd be like, podcast? I know what it is. Where do I get it? People say to me, well, I want to listen to your podcast. How do I get it? I'm like, point to my phone. I'm like, here, just look it up.
I don't know. Everything that plays has a podcast on it now.
Yeah. So now it's more ubiquitous, whereas last year it was like, podcast? I know what that word is, but I don't know what it means.
Although it's funny, I mean, existed for 15 years, 20
years
now?
Yeah. And then just in the last 5 years, it's like blew up.
I think it's cool because I'm sure there's so many people out there with like really good ideas for podcasts that just like simply do not have the access to the tools.
And that is the barrier.
Brittany.
Yes.
Brittany's working on a podcast.
Yes,
well, stay tuned for that.
Yes, stay tuned.
And she has access to all these things, and she still won't do it.
Thanks to my bosses.
We put you on blast now, so you got to follow through.
I know. Everyone listening, please hold me accountable for it. Mom, if you're listening.
Mom.
Please hold me accountable.
You can tweet Brittany.
True.
So this podcast studio is in partnership with iHeartRadio. They're a partner, so I guess they helped do some of the funding and the technical aspects of it. The spaces include a soundproof room, equipment including a Rodecaster Pro, Rode mics, and Shure headphones, and room for up to 4 people, and a dedicated in-store specialist to help users. So even if you are a total knucklehead, you can walk in and record a podcast at Staples. The sessions are being priced at $60 an hour, and that includes 10 minutes for setup, 40 minutes recording time, and 10 minutes for breakdown. And the program also offers discounts on editing by We Edit Podcasts. We know those guys. And hosting by Spreaker. So really, it's a one-stop shop for podcasters. I think they should really play that up. I will be attending PodFest in Orlando in a few weeks, and I'm going to see if there's any kind of presence there by Staples. If they were smart, they would appeal to some of these people. That's pretty cool. All right, we have one stat for stat time. Staples has the largest market share of office supply stores in the United States at 48%, and that share has been increasing since 2011, according to Euromonitor. You guys got anything else to add to the story?
Nope.
To the story, no.
We'll see you at Staples. We'll record our podcast. Maybe we should do a road trip.
That could be fun.
Yeah, that'd be fun. All right, that's your e-commerce minute for today. We'll see you on the internet tomorrow. That's it for today's show. If you like the show, do us a favor and subscribe or leave us a review on iTunes. And don't forget, you can now listen to the e-commerce minute on your Amazon device. Just add e-commerce minute to your flash briefing. And finally, if you have a comment or suggestion or just want to say hi, find us on social media at Sumo Heavy.